What's up, world? Nutrition and wellness guy here, Chef D, your healthiest coach. And today we're going to talk about a part of the body that sometimes we don't talk about often until it's too late, or we get it mixed up with another body part, whether it's bone or muscle. It ain't that today. The star of this show is joint health. In this episode, we're going to talk about the spine, hands, knees, everything that moves, that bends, that twists. We're going to talk about what does real support look like. We'll start off, as we always do, with 5 red flags that your joint health may be trying to get your attention. Then we'll talk about what is joint health? Like what are your joints responsible for? Where are they? What are they? We'll highlight that a little bit. And then we'll talk about some insights from a naturopathic, holistic standpoint. You all know I'm a flexitarian, and I believe in holistic, all-natural practices for maintenance and prevention before things get too bad. And then I'll share 7 daily habits that you can do to help transform your joint health the healthiest way. As you know, it's all about healthiest, having your cake and eat it too. It's all about mindset, moderation, and movement, our 3 M's. And then we'll get into an amazing conversation with my guest in Coach's Corner, where this amazing man, Dr. Dawson, really goes deep down into joint health. And we get to answer some of your questions that you posted throughout the week. You DM, emailed me, and just hearing his perspective, someone who on a daily basis has clients who come to him with joint issues and him addressing it and correcting it, but also having a clientele base that he works with to prevent muscle or joint issues. So I'm very excited about that, our Coach's Corner for this episode. But let me get the legal stuff out the way. So I'm not a rheumatologist, orthopedic specialist, or physical therapist. I'm a nutritionist, certified personal trainer, and behavior change specialist. What I'm sharing today is backed by research, rooted in holistic wellness, and built for real people who want to feel better naturally and consistently. All right, so you get it. So again, I'm not a doctor. I'm someone here who is providing strategy and tools and insight, so that way you can go to your trusted provider and figure out what may be going on with your joint health that you probably didn't even know was an issue before. Speaking about issues, let's hop right into the 5 red flags your joints might be trying to get your attention. They might be struggling. So flag number 1, you feel stiff when you wake up or sit for too long. Now, if it takes you a minute to get moving in the morning, or after you've been sitting, your joints might be inflamed, not just tight. Now, sometimes you could be someone who may be dealing with weight challenges, or someone who just started back out working out, someone who is very athletic, so you're in sports and you're doing a lot of movement. Those things can kind of be, overlooked a little bit because we tend to think they just go along with the program. That's part of it. If I'm overweight, I'm supposed to, feel stiff when I get up. If I work out, I'm supposed to feel stiff. If I play sports, I'm supposed to feel stiff to some degree, but that's not the standard. That's not how we want it to be. That's just an indicator that there may be a little bit more joint support needed. So keep an eye out on that. Flag number 2, you hear clicking or popping often. Now, every once in a while, a little noise, that's fine. A little click here, a little pop there. That's just what it is. However, if it's every day and with a lot of movements, even smaller movements, and you're also starting to see some swelling or discomfort, that may be a red flag. And this is something I'm glad we talked about this in the Coach's Corner conversation with Dr. Dawson. He went a little deeper into that. And I was at one point, even when I came back from overseas, I was starting to experience some popping and clicking And I was like, oh, I'm just getting older, like, oh, this is what they talk about when you're getting older. Wow, I'm starting to really see and understand. Until I met some older people who are active and who are taking care of themselves. And they're like, I don't have clicking and popping like that. And that made me wake up and say, okay, something's off. And, I reached out to my healthcare network and figure out, okay, who's a specialist when it comes to movement? Who's a specialist when it comes to this? And having that therapy and, having a stretch coach. I have a stretch coach. Having the mediums to support my movement and allow me to be more flexible and allow me therapy to address the joints has been a game changer for me. And now I'm not saying clicking and popping is a part of aging. I'm gonna say clicking and popping is a part of neglect. So get that checked out if you're having the clicks and pops all throughout the day and all throughout the week. Number 3, another red flag that your joints might be struggling is when the weather changes. So another thing growing up, you got grandparents or, older aunts, older uncles, and they knew it was about to rain or they knew something was happening. Their joints are ache or their gout or flare up or their arthritis or flare up. And we just in certain communities, we just thought that's just what it's supposed to. That's wisdom. That's just getting older. However, there's other ways to know. The weather's changing. You turn on the news, or you can actually sense those things without compromising your health is what I'm saying. So what was a norm and something that, is a part of the culture. So it's no shade to it. It's no like, oh man, they were just unhealthy. No, I mean, that's just what they knew. This is before Instagram and weather.com. And this is before, the internet. These were other indicators that they were able to know that the weather was changing. But what I'm saying is that if you're in that or you're experiencing that, we have technology now. So you don't have to you don't have to keep going through that. That's not a normal part of life. That's not a healthy joint system. So you might want to get that checked out. Usually, if your knees or your wrists, if they're aching when it rains, when it gets cold, that's literally responding to pressure, which may be due to inflammation. Just, something you just want to get checked out. Flag number 4, you're avoiding certain movements. Now, if you're skipping the stairs, if you don't want to do lunges, you don't want to do squats, you don't want to reach for stuff, you find yourself limited because when you do certain things, you get discomfort, it hurts. What happens is your body is already going to start compensating and it's going to make things work. It's going to try to get around from using that particular body part and you're supporting it. So if you're starting to see as you're getting older, just in general, that there's certain movements you're trying to avoid, it could be an indicator that your joint health may not be where you want it to be. And again, I love joint health because if you take care of it now, it's definitely going to take care of you later. As we were kids and teenagers and growing up, we felt invincible. So we would jump off, the top flight of steps and just do all types of crazy things as kids and even adults. But as you're getting older now, you're realizing that your joints, you need your joints. And if you do right by them, they will do right by you. And that's something that I want us to, the whole point of this episode and this week of focus on joint health, I want you to first know you take your control back. Understand that is an area of the body that we can repair, that we can get back on track. And no, you're not for the rest of your life going to deal with these ailments, but we have tools and strategies. We have a community. Everyone's situation is different, but there's always an underlying principle and there's some underlying baseline symptoms and things that happen that we can kind of pick and say, oh yeah, that's me, or no, that's not really me, but yeah, that is me too. And then also give you the tools to say, okay, what can I do about it? It's nothing worse than someone telling you this is wrong, this broke, that's broke, and not telling you how to fix it, or not giving you realistic, sustainable ways to fix it, not giving you affordable ways to fix it. And that's what we hear in this community. That's what we like doing. That's why I like bringing on guests who are going to be real. Who's not, here to fluff things up, but also not here to scare you. This ain't the scare podcast. This is not the, do it this way or die. This is just another approach. And flag number 5, when recovery from exercises take way too long. Now I get it. If you're just getting back into the gym, or let's say you hit the gym really hard on legs, let's say it's leg day, and you hit it really, really hard. After a day or two and you still feeling like the pain, you can't move, you still super stiff. Let's say after 5 days and you still feeling that same intensity, this could be an indicator that your joint health is a little off and is struggling for some support. Now, movement in most cases, that's the answer. There's some topical stuff that people put on to help relieve or get rid of some of that pain, or even you'll take ibuprofen, or you'll take some over the counters to help with the inflammation. But again, those may be quick fixes, which no shade to that, because hey, if you need your relief, if you need some peace, go for it. But this is also saying that we have some strategies. We have tools at our disposal to keep our joint health up and going. So if it's taking you a long time to recover from exercises, it might be a sign that your joint health is looking for its attention. So what is joint health? What is joint system? Because you hear me saying it, and like, okay, so what is it? Like, what part of the body is it? Where can I find it? Can I touch it? Here's what joint health is, or what it includes. So your joints are more than bones connecting. They're engineered for movement, shock absorption, and structural support. Now, each joint includes, or this is a part of the joint health system, cartilage. So we hear about it. It cushions the bone ends. Also, synovial fluid. This lubricates and reduces friction. Ligaments. These help to stabilize. Tendons, these connect muscle to bone. And surrounding muscles, they absorb force and they help create movement. So in essence, joints help you walk, bend, twist, lift, kneel, stretch, and live life on your terms. These things being taken care of allows you to be more independent of any assistive devices or help. Now, some people, unfortunately, genetically, or from an accident, or from an unfortunate event, their joint health has been compromised physically, and just because of the situation they were in. And, sometimes it's hard to either hear, support. Hey, how can I support my joint health when it's been compromised this badly? And hopefully some of these habits that I share later are some things that can help comfort pain, and also help with movement. There's some amazing, fascinating stories online that I've seen, of even young people. You look at some of the children's hospital stuff, and you look at some young people online. There's this young kid who I follow. I call him Bubba, or Bubba. I gotta get his handle. I'll probably put it in the description. Who knows? But and again, this kid is so inspirational. His dad, amazing family dynamic. But he has the issue with his spine from birth. So it's hard for him to be, flat or straight, and, the movement of his joints. But it's amazing when you look online and you see his dad helping him with all these different therapies to get his joint and bone and muscles back on track, to give him an opportunity to rebalance. Like, that's the most inspirational stuff I love seeing online. I love seeing that kind of stuff because it reminds me of how incredible these bodies are, how incredible God, how he just created just this work of art called the human body. And even with some of the cards being dealt to us that's not in our favor, I love health. I love science, because there's some ways that we can get back on track even when we're dealt bad cards or not favorable cards. I don't consider them bad cards. I say not favorable cards. On top of that, you'll be surprised to know that according to the CDC, joint problems affect nearly 1 in 4 adults. Most of those cases, hear this, most of those cases are actually driven by lifestyle, not injury. So the people who are dealing with joint health it's really coming from their lifestyle choices, usually not moving as much, usually just being in a situation where they have neglected joint health, and they may be the ones experiencing the inflammation, the pain. And I don't know about you. I don't shy. I tell this all the time. I have a really low pain tolerance, like super low. I don't like pain. When I'm in pain, I can't think straight. I can't focus. I'm moody. No matter if I eat or don't eat, I get a little moody. Sometimes I get isolated. I just want to be by myself. I don't want to really be bothered when I'm in pain. So can you imagine someone who is dealing with joint pain most of the day or most of their week? Like, that has to be a really disheartening thing for somebody. Like, my heart goes out to people who haven't found the help or support for their joints. So I hope this episode, and even when we have our conversation with Dr. Dawson, I hope we provide some insight to give you some of your control back, because my heart goes out to you for sure. Like it's one of those things where you don't want to see people in pain. I don't like seeing people in pain. So let's look at it from a holistic and naturopathic way. This is what I call my holistic and naturopathic insight section of our episode. So there's five key elements that, if you're looking through it through the lens of a holistic practitioner or a naturopathic practitioner, this is what they would say when it comes to your joint health. So number one, they would say inflammation is the root. So the naturopathic community focus on systematic inflammation. So it's not an isolated event. Even though the isolation is a symptom, there's a root cause to the symptom. And that's where you would want to start when it comes to joint health. When it comes to the naturopathic community, they'll often address the gut. They'll also look at stress levels and blood sugar to kind of assess joint pain or even reduce it. That's where they're going to start with. Sometimes you'll think about topical, or you may think about taking a pill for the pain or the inflammation or the discomfort. But if you're doing it long term, and if you're trying to systematically correct it, you're gonna try to get at the gut first, and some of the other things like cortisol levels and even blood sugar. Number two, they're going to look at gut health drives joint health. This is we just gut. A leaky gut leaks toxin. A leaky gut leaks toxin. So this is triggering immune responses that affect your joints, especially in autoimmune conditions like rheumatoid arthritis. These are all connected. And one area that you have control in is your diet and also your activity level or your fitness level. And fitness is not just going to the gym. There's so many things, swimming. I always say yoga, because yoga just seems to be a great practice for stretching and movement. But you got Pilates, you got yoga class, you got a bicycle class. You can hop on the elliptical for a couple of minutes in the day. You can hop on a treadmill. You can go for a walk. You can play with your dog. You can play with your kids. You can play with your grandkids. There's so many different things you can do to help with joint health that's in your control. Number three, looking through the lens of a holistic and naturopathic community, emotional tension equals physical tension. I'm going to say that for the people in the back. Emotional tension equals physical tension. So unprocessed stress, you hear me say this before. We even talked about this in the immune health episode, but unprocessed stress often shows up in the body with tight hips, locked jaw, stiff shoulders. Stress shows up as inflammation. It shows up as pain. It shows up as discomfort, especially when it's unprocessed. Not saying you won't have stress, not saying you won't have loneliness, not saying you won't have anger, you won't have sadness. These are natural human emotions. But when it's unprocessed, when it's unaddressed and left alone, then usually what happens is the body is still trying to figure out how to remedy the situation. And let's be honest, sometimes when those things show up in our lives, we call them guilty pleasures we go to. We have our vices that we use to self-medicate, which again is just making the problem worse. So number three was emotional tension equals physical tension. Number four, looking through that lens, movement needs recovery. So overuse without stretching or recovery inflames joints. This community, naturopaths, holistic practitioners, our community, we stress the balance, which is strength plus repair. So when I was younger and it was time to go work out or going to do some fun stuff, I didn't stretch. I just like, let's get into it. I don't have that kind of time. I'm only here for 45. I'm only here for an hour. I got to get right into it. I don't have long. But now as I'm older and I don't want to hear no more clicking and popping, I literally take time to stretch. Stretching is actually a part of my workout now because I want to prep the body. I want to prep the muscle group for the workout that's about to take place. I want to knock first. That's what it is. Think of it like this. Think about, you don't want nobody just coming up in your house unannounced and just walking through the front door. You don't want nobody just getting in your car and you don't know they're getting in your car. Your personal space, even at you don't want nobody just walking in your office, even though you got an open door policy. You still want an indication that, like something's about to happen. So I like stretching because it's a knock on the door. Hey, knock, 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 knock. Hey, thighs. What up, glutes? Hamstrings. What's up? Yeah. Today we going to put some work in. Okay. Got it. I know you're a little tired. I get it, but we still about to put this work in. So I'm going to stretch you out a little bit. So that way, when I put this work in, we on the same page, and then it helps with recovery a lot better. And then, hey, you really grown up when you stretch before your workout and after your workout. You really grown. You nobody can tell you nothing when you're doing it that way. But again, this is all about supporting the joints. And number 5, herbs and natural support. So turmeric, ginger, collagen, magnesium are some favorites, my favorites, especially in the holistic and naturopathic community when it comes to reducing joint pain and stiffness. Throwing these in some teas, smoothies, even in food, these really help with natural support of joint health. Let's tap into 7 daily habits to transform your joint health. And then we're going to get right into this amazing conversation in the Coach's Corner with Dr. Dawson as we dive even deeper into joint health and hearing it from a professional who deals with this every single day and has a passion and excitement for it. And then after that, you guys will answer some of your questions that you had throughout the week. But for 7 habits, let's get right in it. Number 1, so a habit you can do today, no money out your pocket. You don't have to call nobody up. I mean, if you want to call somebody to do it with you, great. But this is something you have control. It's in your circle of influence. Number 1, start every morning with movement. I get it. You want a couple of extra minutes of sleep. You want to just get going. You're running late to the office. I get it. The kids need you. Mom and dad need you if you're taking care of a parent. You have a deadline. You're in school getting another degree or you're getting a certification. I get it. You are a busy person. You got to hurry up and see what's on Instagram. What did you miss? You got to see what's on TikTok. I get it. You busy. You leveling up. But number 1, if you start every day with stretching, walking, some mobility drills, go on YouTube. There's tons of videos for a 5-minute stretch or a 10-minute stretch or a 15-minute stretch to start your day. Tons of video. Actually, I might start making some videos. I'm going to start making some videos. That way we can do a little bit more wellness to go with these nutrition videos. And again, movement in the morning helps warm up the synovial fluid and it eases stiffness before your day even starts. Number 2, stay hydrated all day. And like we say, hydrate strategically. So cartilage is mostly water. Hydration keeps joints cushioned. So some people say, I don't really like water. Okay, add some lemon or add some sea salt or add some electrolytes. They got all these kind of packets and they got all these flavorings you can do to kind of get your water in. Again, just drinking water is good, or some coconut water or watermelon juice. But if you're having a hard time getting it down, do it the healthiest way. Find one of these products out there that have really great ingredients. You don't want to put a bunch of junk in your body. Try to stay away from the dye colors and just get some hydration strategically. Number 3, eat anti-inflammatory foods. So berries, leafy greens, wild salmon, olive oil. These may help reduce swelling inside your joints. So again, when we get joint pains and issues, we always trying to treat it topically on the outside, or we're trying to throw in an ibuprofen. But I'm saying, hey, don't wait till it gets to that point. Let's start eating certain foods that's going to help support that. Number 4, this is a big one. Swap out bad oils. So bad oils, don't come for me. I know you big companies who make all this money making these cheaper versions of food and making these inferior ingredients because you want it to last long on the shelf. Don't come for me. I still enjoy your food snacks, but for my community, this community, limit that. And if you can, swap it out altogether. Get to a point where it's just certain oils you're not going to put in your body. Some of the oils that can increase inflammation, canola oil, I get it. The marketing they put on the label, they make it look like it's such a clean oil. They say less saturated fat compared to this, and I got it. But unfortunately, in the holistic community as a flexitarian, that is considered an inferior oil, and it may increase inflammation. Soy oil, corn oil. These are the oils that we try to stay away from because they have been linked to inflammation. They have been linked to just causing other issues in the body. And the powers that be may come out and say, oh, but we also have research to say it's okay. Yeah, but you got to double check that research, because what happens is they're testing so small quantities, allegedly, these small quantities that are not even realistic. You're not going to use a little bit. If you frying chicken, you need to fill up the whole pot. You frying some fish, you gotta fill up the pot. You're not going to have a teaspoon of this oil. You're probably going to be ingesting quite a bit. So again, try to stay away from it. Some of the things we like to use is avocado oil, olive oil, even ghee as some replacement. Coconut oil, just be careful because it is, it's got some saturated in it. But again, I use it a lot. That's just me. I balance it out by staying hydrated. I balance it out by movement and just keeping my arteries clear by, my berries and other natural things. Number 5 for the 7 habits, strengthen the muscles that support your joints. So build strength with low impact resistant training. Muscles absorb force so your joints don't have to. So again, it's good to just go in the gym and get your cardio in, get your little class in, do your walk, but find where your level of strength training is at. I'm not saying go in there and be the one that, don't do, fine, get in where you fit in. But you should be stretching your muscles. You should be tearing them up in a way that they can grow, because muscle health, which we're going to get in a couple of weeks. We have a great episode lined up for muscle health. Muscle health actually supports joint health, and joint health supports bone health. They all work together. So as we get older, we live life on our terms. Number 6, support your gut. Listen, I don't care what body part we're talking about. It's always going to come back to the gut. So another habit is support your gut. How specifically, you ask? I'm glad you asked. So add in fiber-rich foods, probiotics, fermented foods. I love sauerkraut. I used to hate it as a kid. I just like to eat it fresh out the jar. I love sauerkraut. A balanced gut lowers full body inflammation, including in your joints. And number 7, wind down with recovery. So foam rollers, stretching. We talked about this. We talked about this earlier in the day with, the habit number 1 was stretch with every movement. But now this is talking about towards the end of the day. So as you're winding down, you can do some static stretching. Do an Epsom salt bath. I'm taking a bath tonight. I'm a bath person, by the way. I love baths. When I feel things, I just do baths just to do baths, even if I'm feeling some type of way or not. But if I was really achy right now, like I did legs today, but I don't feel achy, but I just want to take a bath for therapy, take your baths, put some Epsom salt in there, put your essential oils in there, let it draw out some toxins, but also let it just nourish the body. Bath time is such a great time, especially with a great playlist, little candles here and there. And then just also know that joints heal best when you're resting deeply. And that's it, 7 habits. Listen, let's get into this conversation in Coach's Corner with Dr. Dawson about joint health. I really hope that you find some value in what he shares. And I hope you find value in this episode. All right, what's going on? We're finally here with this amazing, amazing man. This guy who has been transformative in my health personally. I'm excited to introduce you all, the community, to Dr. Dawson. He is, you know what? I usually don't do this, but I'm gonna do this right off the bat. I'm gonna start off with who he is, just so you can already put some respect on his name before he even starts talking. I want you to put some respect on his brother's name. But from a young age, Dr. Dawson grew up knowing he wanted to become a doctor. His personal triumph over cancer at the age of 16 months old gave him a profound respect and confidence in the body's ability to heal and regenerate. Dr. Dawson went on to complete his Bachelor's of Science in Biomedical Science with a minor in Public Health and Biomedical Physics from the University of South Florida. So he's smart. He's smart. But he ain't stopped the smart there. He kept going. After receiving his bachelor's degree, he earned a doctor of chiropractic and a master's of acupuncture and oriental medicine degree from Southern California University of Health Sciences. This is where discipline meets passion. It's one thing for us to be excited and passionate. I know even in our generation, we're very passionate about things, but sometimes we leave out the discipline part because we not so much think we're wise in our own eyes, but we'll get a bunch of information and then we get the battery in our back and we just go out and start helping people. So I appreciate every once in a while when I rub elbows and shoulders with someone who says, "Hey, I don't know it all." And I probably will never know it all, but I'm gonna get around other people who know more than I do, and I'm gonna spend the time necessary to get this done. And so that way I can share more with people. I can be better service to people. And going forward after, and he got some other stuff that I'm going to tie in into our conversation. I just wanted to start off with his disciplines look like. And Dr. Dawson, before I have you say hello to everybody, I also read somewhere in there that you were working. So you got into a place where you did the nurse side of things and you were understanding the doctor side of things, and you were working lots of hours and still going to school full time, to the point where you were working, you were doing school at night, and you had to get up super early. You were studying all the way until the next morning, right before it was time to get back out. So you had limited rest, limited sleep, and the only reason I know that because I did a book report on you for one of my courses in college. It was like, do a report on someone who inspires you. So I did like your life. I know it's kind of like stalkish a little bit, but I'm inspired. I'm inspired. But Dr. Dawson, to community, welcome this amazing brother to our platform. Welcome, Dr. Dawson.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the kind words. You talked about discipline meeting passion, and I would say even further piggybacking on that, uh, going into purpose, right? And
Mm,
when God purposes us to be something or to help others in a certain way, it drives you to be the best that you can and to get the education and get the knowledge so that you can fulfill your purpose. So it's a blessing that I was able to cross paths with you. And I've been inspired just by your passion, right? And your purpose in helping others and teaching people, from the nutrition side to just coaching them in life. That is huge. And so I'm inspired by just your journey that you've gone through, whether through the military or on health challenges, to
mm.
being here and taking that and pouring into others. So I'm looking forward to diving in this topic here and just talk
Yes.
about health. We can do this all day. So,
All day.
sure.
So getting right into it, today's episode. So early, the first half of the podcast, I was able to share with the community what we recapped over the week. We released content talking about some red flags when it comes to joint health. We also we released another video, later in the week, which we share some 7 daily habits, things that people can just do right at home. And we also started talking about the functions of joint health, what it really is. So I just want to start this off with you. When you hear joint health, what is that? Like, what does that encompass? What does that mean to you when it comes to joint health?
Yeah. Joint health, I would say, is an expression of life, right? I mean, the way that we move is through our joints. And I love the information you went over. You were talking about synovial fluid and the cartilage and the ligaments and the tendons and how they connect to the joint. Motion is life, right? And so
Mm.
without our joints, we can't move, we can't lift, we can't dance, we can't run, we can't walk. So joint health is very, very important, and you see that as we age, right?
Mhm.
Um, if our joints are degenerative and we have limited range of motion, tightness, soreness, inflammation, it really limits our quality of life. And so that's really the importance. So I would say our joint health is really a huge reflection of our overall health.
Amazing. So, in other words, when it comes to joint health, it sounds like it's a system that we have control over as far as the maintenance of it and as far as the prevention of some things that will debilitate us as far as a lack of movement. So I know for me, for example, I always associated lack of movement with age. Like, hey, it just is what it is. As you get older, you just gonna just get stiff. You get stiffer. You don't know what it is. One day you wake up, you're just stiffer. But as I'm starting to learn more and meet amazing people like yourself, that's not the case. That we actually have more control over the stiffness even as we get older. Can you share a little bit more about how much control we actually have over preventing the onset of just stiffness when it comes to aging? Is there a correlation, like because you old you're stiff, or and what can we do about it?
Yeah, great question. It's interesting because when you look at x-rays or imaging, um, some people are very young and they look like they have a spine that is like of a 60-year-old, right? But vice versa, you have a 60, 70-year-old that looks like they may have joints of a 25-year-old. So really it's about number one, lifestyle. Um, but two, again, your environment. So if you've had major trauma in your life, let's say you blew out your knee playing sports, something to that nature, car accident with whiplash, some structural integrity that has been compromised, then that can, lead to degeneration, and it can speed up, degeneration in the joints. But let's say you haven't had that. This is where I think we will start to talk about the control we have, right? So the control will be really coming down to the basics: how we eat, the level of inflammation we have systemically in our bodies. So our bodies are intelligent, right? They know what to do, when to do, how to do without us even telling it. Okay. So one thing we don't recognize is when we start to look at systemic inflammation, it's starting in the gut, which I know you mentioned before earlier this week. And when your gut begins to break down, that barrier breaks down, undigested food, different bacteria, pathogens can pass through. That activates the immune system and leads to systemic inflammation. Now, the body is intelligent, so it wants to preserve the vital organs. So, oftentimes, it will push out inflammation to more less of a higher priority of tissue. Okay.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
so, that's why you're going to get the stiffness, the soreness, the achiness into the joints due to that systemic inflammation. All right. So, our control would be how we eat, how we move, how we take care of ourselves, right? So I know you recommended some of those daily habits: getting up in the morning, getting moving, right? So when we look at the cartilage and the synovial fluids there in the joint, when we look at like the disc, for example, in the spine, they don't get nourishment except through motion. It's called imbibition. So motion
Gotcha.
is lotion. So I tell my patients that all the time, right? You
Motion
want to
is
stay
lotion.
moving. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So the more you move, the better, unless you have structural integrity issues, right? So if you have a torn or sprain or strained tendon, or sprained ligament, torn ligament, then obviously you want to allow it to heal. But even with that, immediately coming out of knee surgery, your orthopedist is going to have you moving. Okay.
Mm,
Because still, even with an injury, you get scar tissue that lays down. That scar tissue is there to help support, kind of like a natural splint. Nevertheless, too much scar tissue in the area is going to lock it down almost as if you have, some type of hard cast that won't let you move, right? So we want to keep moving so that even the scar tissue is laid down in a way that the joint should be properly moving, the muscle should be properly moving. So I would say our control of our joint health starts at the beginning of really what we put in our bodies, okay, into our gut, which is going to absorb the proper nutrients in order to allow our joints to lubricate, heal,
mm.
and recover.
Wow. I love that. It's just to unpack a little bit. So, in regards to, let's say, some of the red flags popped up for someone, like they were like, "Hey, listen, I necessarily didn't have a injury. Maybe I had one when I was younger as an athlete. Uh, However, I'm starting to notice more clicking and popping. I'm starting to notice more stiffness. I'm starting to notice some of these red flags are showing up." And I'm listening to Dr. Dawson. I'm listening to Nutritional Wellness Guy podcast, and I'm understanding that I have a little bit more control over this experience. How can someone who they're noticing some of these signs. I mean, they may be able to go to their general, their general practitioner, but what can they where can they start? Like I remember you mentioned earlier that labs or not labs, images. So if you were trying to figure out a function of the kidneys or liver, you would get blood work, urine work. When it comes to joints, so this is a twofold. When it comes to joints, how do we assess our joint health through a professional, and what professional should we be looking to as far as getting this assessment from?
Good question. Um, I'll start here. Obviously, you want to get a proper examination
Hmm.
if there's a specific joint that you're talking about in general, right? So you may be looking at orthopedist, you may be looking at Dr. Chiropractic, you may be looking at a physical therapist, someone who's trained in order to assess and diagnose joint health or joint issues. Okay.
Mm,
Some of the things that you may want to consider, let's say you don't have an actual injury or incident where you injure a joint, but you may have some muscle imbalances due to improper posture, repetitive stress. If you're doing a repetitive motion over and over again,
mm,
if you are playing sports on an imbalanced surface, you're looking at, for example, your knee and you have pulling on the knee or tightness or soreness or swelling, it could be due to various different muscles or ligaments or tendons that are either compensating or
mm.
strained or sprained due to the injury or the exercise or activity that you're doing, right? So
Okay.
again, it all boils down to really having the proper assessment so that you kind of know what to do. But then you can always choose if you go to more of a natural doctor, looking at like a chiropractor, acupuncturist, physical therapist, you are going to receive more probably direct physical um, examination and more of a holistic approach to correcting the dysfunction versus if you go to your medical doctor, they're going to give you maybe the imaging and do some diagnostics on you, but then you're probably going to get more of a chemical solution for a structural issue. So
Mm,
you have to kind of decide which way you want to go. And again, talking about the control we have on our joint health, we have to do our research and we have to understand that it's not always a chemical answer for a structural issue.
mm.
Okay.
That's a bar. That's a bar, doctor.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Wow.
oftentimes we're taking the anti inflammatories.
Hmm.
But no matter how many anti-inflammatories I take, it's not going to correct a misalignment in my sacroiliac joint or the tightness in my quads that's pulling and creating tension on my patella tendon and creating popping and clicking as my patella tracks over my femur. See what I'm saying? That chemical solution is only going to do one thing and reduce inflammation, but that can also slow down healing
Mm.
as you're reducing.
Unpack that a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, so the anti-inflammatory, how do we heal?
Mhm.
Our body's natural way of healing is to send blood flow to an area to help clean out debris, to nourish tissue, okay? And as a splint to protect. That's why you get swelling around an area. But if you use an anti inflammatory, it's going to stop that blood flow from going to that area. Now, that will reduce sensitivity, tenderness, and pain because it's that pressure from the blood flow and the inflammation that's there isn't putting pressure on the nerve,
Okay.
but it slows down healing because you may need that much blood flow in order to nourish the tendon and the cartilage and the ligaments, right? In order for your body to properly heal. So I would prefer you do more also of a local, you know, ice on and off, right, to reduce some of the pressure there without stopping the whole process of the healing cofactors going to an area to help nourish and heal and clean out now the dead cells and debris that's in the area. Okay. So
Okay.
our bodies are intelligent. These are natural processes that are supposed to happen. Same thing as when you get a cold. A fever isn't a bad thing.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Too high of a fever is a bad thing, right? If it gets too high, yeah, it can
Mhm.
create a heat stroke. But a fever is not allowing the pathogen or bacteria to live in that environment. It can't live in that environment. The body
Wow.
takes up its set point and takes the temperature up, right? It's also bringing blood flow to a certain area. There's so many things and so many factors that are happening. So a fever in itself isn't bad. Same thing with swelling or splinting of the body through blood flow to an area. So you have to be mindful of that. Obviously, if it's so painful that it's unbearable, then yeah, you can utilize it, but you have to be careful. Yeah.
Because again, in community, this is something that I believe will be I think you could put this on a t-shirt. You can't
Mhm.
you should not treat a structural issue with a chemical solution. And sometimes and Dr. Dawson, what we hone on in this community and just this platform is our response. Our health is our responsibility, and to rely on one medical provider for all of our health concerns may not be the best way to go about it. You should somewhat, we believe, have a network of specialists or professionals who are preventing and helping with maintenance. And if there is a break the glass moment, that's what the ER, that's what some of these other places are for. But for maintenance and prevention, I always believe that the general MD is just that, general, and they are to help maybe uncover what may be going on.
Mhm.
But it's our responsibility to have professionals that we are seeking to get the answers we need for our health. Because what happens is sometimes, and again, I work at a hospital, I see the behind the scenes. The chemical thing is usually the easiest and the quickest response. And I don't think all medical professionals, and I know for sure that's not the way. However, as a community, that's the energy we may give off. Hey, we may not want to do the structural work. We don't have the time. We're too busy. I
Mhm.
don't have the patience. I just need it gone. I need it fixed.
Right.
So I like the fact that you actually spoke about prevention and you spoke about good behavior, good practice for that. Do you mind also just sharing a little bit in regards to the joints? Are they able to repair themselves? And what are some supplements or what are some natural things we can take or do in addition to movement to help support joint health?
Yeah, good question. Um, so yeah, number one, the joints can heal, but there's limitation to matter.
Hmm.
All right. So I'll say it that way. If you have a rubber band and you stretch it out really bad or really far, at some point it's not going to come back to its natural shape that you had at the beginning of that rubber band. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
So same thing with your joints, especially your ligaments and your tendons. Okay. Ligaments in particular, you have a pretty bad sprain. oftentimes that ligament isn't going to go back 100% to what it was before. So
Mm.
there will be some lack of support there in that joint because it's connecting that bone to bone, right? Nevertheless, there are things to help nourish and promote healing. And, you know, something I'll piggyback off of something you said before. Um, the bad thing isn't medicine, right? Versus natural. It's what's the most effective thing to get the person healthier. That's what it is for me. At the end of the
So,
day, are you healthier after the treatment, right? But if you break your arm, you should definitely go to the ER. You shouldn't come to me in my office, right? So I think the key is looking at, you know, not looking at your medical doctor as the end all be all, but a
yes,
specialist in what they do, right? Which is diagnostics and medical treatment, right?
yes,
But
sir.
their medical treatment isn't necessarily the only treatment that you need and may not be the healthiest option for you, right? And with what I do, more natural medicine, we can prevent, but we can also promote health.
Oof.
And see, that's what I think people don't understand is that you may not have a symptom, but you can come into my office. I can assess you, identify dysfunction, and then promote health, improve your health in
Oh,
areas you didn't even know you needed. Okay. So that's
wow.
the power of natural and holistic medicine that you don't have to have a heart attack in order to use your cardiologist, or you have to have a heart attack in order to really use your cardiologist, right?
Hmm.
Nevertheless, you don't have to be in crisis to come to someone that can promote health. So,
And that's the
um,
part that is the part. And I feel like that's what this community. I'm so glad you said that, doctor. And you're on fire, by the way. I appreciate the fact that you touched on that because that's my why for starting this community, making sure that for one, we get our power back as far as our health is concerned. Sometimes people have been dealing with things for so long that they have a it is what it is mentality, and they just want to
mm,
either get rid of the pain, the discomfort, or a workaround. And this is saying, hey, listen, there's actually some avenues, there's some approaches that we can do to prevent and to promote. Because again, promotion is I think sometimes just as important as just we're as a community. Even when I'm coaching certain people, and even when we're in the army, we don't address the issue until the issue's addressing us. Our
mhm,
first episode, we did kidney health, and we say the kidneys whisper until they shout. And when they shout, it's
mm,
sometimes too late. The liver, these are hardworking functions. Like you said, God made no mistakes. He designed an impeccable vessel. He,
mm,
he designed an amazing vessel for us to operate out of and to get our purposes accomplished while we're down here. He made sure the
sure.
excuses would be very low. And hey, you don't have an excuse. I am setting you up with one of the most technological sound pieces of equipment that
Mm,
man can't even develop.
yeah,
So I say that to say that this is the temple, and I appreciate the fact that you said, "Hey, listen, we can do prevention, but we need to also focus on promotion." So, community, what I got from that, the takeaway is we don't want to wait until something happens. We don't want to wait for an injury. We don't want to wait for a traumatic event to happen in our lives to address certain functions, especially our joint health. And with him being someone who sees patients and clients on the regular, I'm sure you see a myriad, a spectrum of different conditions.
mhm.
Can you share a little bit about what your day to day looks like? And what do you do day to day? What is your day to day function? And talk a little bit about your business, your services, doctor, if you don't mind.
Yeah, perfect. So for me, I'm a doctor of chiropractic, so I am adjusting, assessing, and diagnosing patients every day when it comes to spinal health, but even other things that they may be dealing with, any joint health, sports injuries, things to that nature that come into my office. I'm also I have a massive acupuncture, so I'm an acupuncturist. So I'm also doing that with cupping. And again, when it comes to that health promotion, it's really neat. Looking at the tongue and the pulse and other ways that we can assess how the body is actually functioning inside. And using acupuncture, we're able to correct dysfunction, reduce inflammation, promote health. And then I also assess lab work. And from there, I will recommend dietary as well as supplement protocols in order to improve someone's digestive issues, thyroid, adrenals, even help people with fertility, whatever that may be, joint pain. I'm able to prescribe the proper supplementation or herbal formulas in order to help their body heal. And to kind of touch
Wow.
you back on what you talked about supplement wise for joint health, number one, I think you would say this is our food, right?
Mm.
Um, Oftentimes, when we look at a dog or a pet, if they're sick, the first thing we ask, what did they eat,
Did
right?
they eat?
Or what did they not have, right? We don't go around
Even a
and
baby,
say,
doctor, even a baby.
exactly, right? I mean, even a plant, we say, what does a plant need to survive, right? Does it
Fact,
have sunlight, right? Does it
fact.
have, the proper soil? Does it have water? Does it have, we don't say what medication are they deficient in, right? So I think
Wow.
that's the number one key. What are we eating that is affecting our joint health, right? The
Mm,
preservatives, the processed sugars and processed foods, all those
mm,
things create inflammation, cause dysfunction in our digestive system.
wow.
So that's the number one thing.
Mm,
And, I had a patient, she was starting with me, she was like 320 something pounds, right?
yeah.
We changed her diet, set up her macros. She was also autoimmune, rheumatoid arthritis. She had high cholesterol, BP medication. Within 8 weeks, inflammation. She also had high CRP. She had high insulin. All of that went down within 8 weeks, right? She was able to get off her cholesterol med. They reduced her autoimmune medications, got her off the BP med, and then she had a lot of knee pain and wanted a knee surgery, but the doctor wouldn't do the surgery until she lost weight.
Okay.
But she dropped about 40 pounds within 4 months. And she was able to go out and play volleyball with her family and friends. She didn't have the knee pain after and the soreness. She was able to exercise more. And it was more so her diet. We changed her diet. We pulled out the things that was causing inflammation,
Wow.
and the joint pain improves, the rheumatoid arthritis improves, the blood sugar improves, right? So before we even jump into supplements, if we just put the right things in our body and
Wow.
remove the other toxic things, our bodies can heal. It'll regenerate. When we look at diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, you don't take those things outside the body. That is a metabolic condition that is due to your environment, right? So
Wow.
we change the environment or we get out of it, and our body goes from an adaptive state to proper physiology, right?
Wow.
Because we talked about the magnificence of the body. It knows how to heal. And even when it is sick, it's intelligent because that's adapting. Otherwise, if it didn't adapt to have diabetes, it didn't adapt to do these other things, then you would die from the immediate stressor, right? If your blood
Mm,
pressure didn't increase because your arteries were constricted, you would get no blood flow to your legs, no blood flow to your arms, right? No blood flow to your head. You're going to stroke out. But your
wow.
body says, you know what? I have to increase the set point of my blood pressure to get the perfusion to these tissues that are in the extremities. That's intelligence. That's not that's not the body being screwed up. No, that's the environment
Ooh,
changing the body's function.
man.
Okay.
So you said something, and you said something in regards to the weight factor. And in our community, we do have some people who are, and as a health coach with the brand Healthy-ish, I have a baseline before I coach anyone, and before I coach anyone, my the mindset has to be at a place where I am grateful for where I'm at, and I just want to improve and get better. So for me, it's hard to coach, or I choose not to coach uh, when it comes to someone who just hates themselves, hates their weight, hate where that. Because I have to remind people there's no perfect size. Like the way you are made, and you just, and I'm so glad you said it the way you said it. That the body is smart and it's adapting to the environment. Whatever that looks like, the body is adapting to the environment. So for the person who may be dealing with weight issues, you've probably been dealing with weight issues since you were young, or after a pregnancy, or after an injury,
Mhm.
and you feel like all hope is lost. This is just, again, with this community, it's first and foremost, there's no perfect size. I know people who got the abs and got the muscles and are not well at all. Labs are all off.
Mhm.
They're dealing with issues with inside that you can't see. Some women size zero, size one, size two. There's so many things. There's 5 pillars of health, doctor, that we talk about on this community, which is physical, which is mental, which is emotional, which is social, the people you're around, and also which I say spiritual, emotional, mental, spiritual, emotional, mental, physical, and social. I'm saying it all together, and this is no cuts. This is no cuts community. Y'all like, get it right, Steph. But what the point I'm driving is there's more facets of health than just physical.
Right.
So I like the fact that you said, hey, listen, before you do a chemical thing, even before a structural thing in a sense, there could be a weight thing. So, do you mind sharing a little bit just how much the body improves just from weight reduction? So, when it comes to joint health, how are the bodies adapting to the excess weight? And what have you noticed? I know you just mentioned one of your clients when they have reduced their weight, that other things in the body responded. What does that look like if someone says, hey, just 10 pounds, 15 pounds to contribute towards their overall health?
Yeah. Obviously, weight creates stress on the joints, but even more, if you think a person that is severely overweight isn't inflamed, then you have another thing coming, right? So, just in that, I would say more so the inflammation that is being reduced due to the weight loss, because in order for them to lose weight, they're probably not eating certain things that they were eating, right? And therefore, their whole metabolism is changing.
Okay.
So I would say that probably has more of an effect, unless they're doing it in an unhealthy way, right? So, you do have people that starve themselves skinny and things of that nature, which at the beginning, if they're overweight, fasting isn't a bad thing, but too extreme is not good. But I would say, yeah, reducing the weight and the stress on the joint itself can help, because then the cartilage isn't being degenerative and broken down due to the weight, right?
Okay.
I would say the inflammation that is irritating the joints and the nerves there are going to also reduce, and overall their mental health and feeling like they can actually move, because that's another thing. People that are severely overweight, they don't want to move because mentally they know it's going to hurt, right?
Oh, okay.
So
Hmm.
that also comes into play, which creates a certain level of anxiety or depression because they're not moving. um, I mean, there's endorphins that are released when we move, right? That stimulates our nervous system, stimulates our
So,
circulatory system, so there's so many things that happen when we're moving that's so important for life. Okay.
wow.
Again, motion is life, right? If we're not
Motion
moving,
is
we're
lotion.
dying, right?
Motion is
Exactly.
lotion.
So,
Wow.
and also when you look at when you're moving, you're also challenging the muscle, which is going to allow more muscle to grow. And there's three things I always talk to my patients about maintaining, especially women as they age, right? Your muscle mass, bone density, and brain mass. If you don't use it, you lose it, right? Your
Wow.
muscles are going to atrophy within 2 weeks of stopping working out. All right.
Wow.
You're going to have decrease in your bone density, because in order to build more bone, you have to stress the bone. Okay. So a severely overweight person is probably also going to have a certain level of weakness And so you can see how detrimental that is because being overweight and then trying to move, especially as you age, high risk of fractures, right? If you fall, you break a femur or a hip or whatnot. So movement is so important, way beyond, just activity as far as a sport or something to that nature, but just overall health, our nervous system, circulatory system, lymphatic system, right? Detox. When we
Mm.
sweat, we release toxins, all those different things. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I appreciate this. So if a person and you're located where are you located, Dr. Dawson?
I'm in Southern California.
Okay.
Um, I practice in the city of Laguna Niguel at Life Clinic, but I also do functional medicine virtually online at dawsonshealthsolution.com. And they can also find me on Instagram at Dr. Jonathan Dawson. So, yeah, many ways to reach out and find me if they're not local.
And for the person who in this community who they're like, okay, this hit home. Like some of what was said actually hits home. And I want to get a little bit more serious about my joint health. I want to get a little more serious about my overall health. What does that look like? Can you just walk us through briefly the experience of someone who's coming into your practice? They say, "Hey, I heard this. I reached out. What are some of the first things? I know it's case by case, but what's the common practice you get into when you're first meeting with someone to get their journey on track when it comes to just joint health, overall health? What does that look like?
Yeah, I usually do like a metabolic screening. All right.
Okay.
I want to see, everything from gut health to their blood sugar to their thyroid, all these things. How are these things functioning? And we can tell a lot by the questionnaire or the screening that I do. And in person, I'm going to do a functional movement screening. I want to see how your spine is moving, how your joints are moving. Do you have compensation? Do you have weakness in certain joints and
Mm,
muscles? Because that functional movement is going to tell me just as much or even more than doing an x-ray, right? Because
mm,
on an x-ray, your joints may look fine, your bones may look fine, but the muscles, you might have tightness in your upper trap or your rotator cuff or your hip flexors, right? And that's going to tell me a lot about how you're going to be able to perform and recover when you're doing activities. Yeah.
wow. So you do that, you do the assessment, and as they're there, you're just getting a better snapshot of where they're at. And then you
Right.
discuss with them where we want to go. What are okay, so I want because for me, and I'll share this with you all. When I came to Dr. Dawson, I've already been through my primary. I've already been through. I would refer to different specialists, and they couldn't make the connection on what was going on with my gut. I was having like an acid reflux, and I was having an issue in my throat. And he's so thorough. I've never heard of a stool sample before. I never in my life heard of that. You just hear urine, you hear blood. So, what are some of the things at your disposal, Dr. Dawson, in your office that people can look forward to as far as also with their screening? What are some of the things? And this your time to cook a little bit, like what, your office
Yeah.
again is set apart. And if you don't mind, as we end this, can you share a little of your why? Like why are you doing this? Like you could be doing other things. Why are you doing this? And what is your connection to people getting well? And that's a threefold. Why are you doing this? What's your connection to people getting well? And also what tools are at your disposal that you help people see exactly where they're at, that sets you apart?
Yeah. My why is I find purpose in helping people have a different option, right? Because oftentimes, they get a diagnosis and it's just like, all right, well, I got to take this medication and they feel powerless. So, my goal is to empower you, to educate you about your body, to identify the cause of what your dysfunction is, so that if we can identify the cause, then we can correct it, right? Or at least support your body to function much better. Okay. So if I wrap the rubber band around your finger and it started to reduce blood flow there, you start to get swelling, tightness, pain, I can shoot it up, I can ice it, I can do all that, but until we remove the rubber band, you'll
Rubber
never
band.
get 100% blood flow circulation back to your finger, right?
Wow.
So that's my goal. Let's look at the cause, right? If you have, for example, you're having heartburn, reflux, what is the cause? Is the answer you have uh, an antacid deficiency and I give you Tums, or I'm
Mm.
saying, like, do I
Or some
do that?
omeprazole. And do we just give you straight omeprazole to like, oh
Right,
man.
exactly,
Wow.
which is actually negative reinforcement, right? It reduces your stomach acid. That's going to decrease your ability to break down and denature your proteins and enzymes, which is going to alter your digestion all the way through
Wow.
your digestive tract, may lead to gallbladder, your gallbladder having stones, to pancreatic insufficiency, to other digestive issues in your colon down the line. So do I do that, or do I correct the issue, which is really
Mm.
low stomach acid,
Wow.
give you a supplement, nourishment to help promote proper stomach acid, reduce stress, identify things in your environment that's leading to that so it can correct itself so that you have proper digestive function, right? So that's my goal, that's my passion, and my why, right? And it goes back to my health journey and recognizing the body can heal, right?
Wow.
Any diagnosis you got is dysfunction, okay? And that's adaptive. If we can take it from that adaptive state to proper physiology, your body's healing. Now, in my office, comprehensive testing, I do blood labs that are over 57 different markers, right? I want to be able to look at your body in a comprehensive look. The stool analysis that you're talking about, there is like a stool test where you look at occult blood and things of that nature, but then there's a comprehensive stool analysis that can assess digestion, malabsorption, inflammation in your gut, the leaky gut process, parasites, um, overgrowth of bad bacteria from your colon into your small intestines,
Wow.
so on and so forth. So that's a comprehensive look at what's actually
Wow.
going on. It's going to tell us a lot too about your immune system, your absorption, all
System.
those good
Wow.
things, right?
Wow.
Because if you can't digest properly, even if you're eating the healthiest diet, you're not able to absorb it and utilize the nutrients to heal. Okay. So I can give you all the supplements, but if you can't break down and digest it and absorb it, your body isn't going to heal. Okay. So we want to make sure that's at the base of everything. But we can also do like adrenal testing, which a lot of people may not know about. It's just looking at your cortisol, your circadian rhythm, how your body is adapting to stress. All right,
Mm.
in your environment, because that's going to change a lot of things. Your mental health, your physical health, your relationships with your partner, fertility, libido, all of that is going to be affected by your stress level, how you're going to perform, your focus, concentration. So when we look at your stress organ, we want to make sure we're nourishing your stress organ instead of just giving it stimulants like caffeine in order to give you energy to perform. Okay. But yeah, there's other testing we can do as well to dive even deeper, whether that's looking at mineral deficiency and toxicity levels in the hair or stool or urine, all these
Wow.
various different tests. So we can figure out again what's the why. Mold testing, things of that nature as well. Sometimes people's environment is leading to that systemic inflammation in their body due
Mm.
to things they're breathing in or whatnot in their home. So
In the environment. Wow.
all of that testing is important. Yeah. Um, and then when we look at supplements for joint health, I think we kind of missed that. But things like sulfate chondroitin, MSM, turmeric is a great one to reduce inflammation. Um, Glucosamine, all these things are really good to help lubricate the joints and
Wow.
reduce inflammation. Yeah.
Wow. Ah, I appreciate this. This was, and I'm gonna talk to you off the record because we have a episode coming up. We do a full week of adrenal health. Because people, like you said, it's actually I think it's like week 8. We do adrenal health. So we might talk off the record and see if we can get you back on here. But
Oh,
first and foremost, just thank you so much for this is evergreen. So I appreciate the fact that we were able to come onto this platform. And thank you for sharing with my community. Just one more time, can you spell out your Instagram, and also with your, is there a place that people outside, if they're not on social media, the way that they can get in touch with that? I know you said it a little earlier, but I want to hit it one more time. It will be in the description for y'all who are watching on YouTube, and for you guys who are listening on your favorite podcast streaming services. It'll be in part of the title description of that as well. So how do you spell that all the way out, Dr. Dawson?
Yeah, for sure. That's D as in David, R JONATHAN, D as in dog, AWSON at gmail.com. If you want to reach me outside of any of these platforms. And then my Instagram is just my full first and last name, the doctor. So it's DR, again, JONATHAN, DAWSON. And then my website is dawsonhealthsolutions.com.
Thank you so much for your time. I know you are out there saving lives. You guys don't see his cape on. It's probably in dry cleaners right now. He's out there saving life. Dr. Dawson, thank you so much again for being on this platform with us. Have an amazing day. And remember, health is wealth, and we're just here to make sure you're getting paid. Until next time, yum on.
Awesome.